Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Atlanta Braves in the final and rubber game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for the Braves, right-hander Spencer Schwellenbach, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. here on the West Coast as the Padres wrap up this 6-game road trip. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll hear from Padres president of baseball operations and general manager AJ Preller. And in just a little bit, we check in with Jesse Agler, our keys to the game, a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup, and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971, with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today 28-22 after yesterday's game. Padres have now lost 7 of their last 8 games. Meanwhile, the Braves come in 25-26. Atlanta started the season with 7 consecutive losses, including getting swept by the Padres in a 4-game series to begin the season. However, since beginning the year 5-13, the Braves are now 20-13 in their last 33 games. As we turn our full attention to this series finale, well, before we do that, let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, we found out shortly before yesterday's game that Michael King would not make his start. And by the way, we have an update on that just moments ago here in the studio. So we'll get to that after the rewind. So Michael King was scratched because of right shoulder stiffness. So instead, Sean Reynolds took the mound in the bottom of the first inning in what became a bullpen game yesterday for the Padres. In the bottom of the second, Reynolds was dealing with a runner on third base, Nick Allen at the plate.
2-2 pitch from Reynolds, swung on, grounded slowly towards third base. Manny gonna let it roll, and it hits the bag. Infield hit, Nick Allen. Verdugo comes in to score, and the Braves take a 1-0 lead.
A 90-foot roller to give the Braves a 1-0 lead. Padres answered in the top of the third against Braves starter Grant Holmes. Brandon Lockridge was at second base with 2 men away for Manny Machado.
1-0 to Machado, lined into center field. That's going to get down at a base hit. Harris gets to it. He'll have to send it into second base as Lockridge speeds home. It's an RBI single for Manny Machado. Already his second hit of the day, and we're tied 1-1 here in the third.
But we weren't tied for long. Matt Olson dug in against Reynolds in the bottom half.
1-0 to Olson in the air to deep left field. Lockridge twisting and turning back at the wall. It's going to go into the second row over the left field fence. And a 2-out homer for Matt Olson here in the bottom of the third inning has given the Braves the lead back. It's 2-1.
Austin Riley then hit a double. Reynolds came out of the game at 57 pitches, replaced by Wandy Peralta. A single sent Riley to third. That set things up for Ozzy Albies.
1-1 pitch. Albies swings, reaches for it, grounds it slowly to third base. Manny, bare hand from the grass, throws not in time. Another infield hit to get another run home, and it's 3-1 Atlanta.
Padres still trail 3-1 going to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Alec Jacob on the mound. He issued a 1-out walk to Allen. That was trouble because Ronald Acuna Jr. was next.
0-1 pitch, and that is launched to deep left field. Oh, my goodness. Lockridge is back. He's at the wall. He's got no shot at all. Well into the stands in left field. And for the second consecutive game, Ronald Acuna has gone deep. This one a 2-run homer, and it makes it 5-1 Braves in the bottom of the 6th inning.
Braves would end up scoring 2 more runs in the final score yesterday. The Braves 7 and the Padres 1, and now it sets up the rubber match of this 3-game series here today. Well, just moments ago, we got word from the Padres that they are placing right-hander Michael King on the 15-day IL with right shoulder inflammation, retroactive to May 22nd. They are recalling right-hander David Morgan from AAA El Paso. So Morgan will be available today out of the Padres bullpen, and not great news. Michael King officially going on the IL after getting scratched yesterday with right shoulder stiffness, and now the Padres will be without King for at least a little while. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 1:10, let's go out to Atlanta.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres podcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Well, Jesse, let's start with one of the guys in the Padres lineup today. Luis Campusano recalled to the big leagues yesterday, DHing today and batting 8th. And for Campy, Jesse, it feels like another opportunity for him to show what he can do for an offense that could really use some pop right now. Another good opportunity for Campy.
It is, and, there's a little bit of a trap there, I think, and he's done such a good job in his limited action this season of not falling into that trap, right? Put yourself in Luis Campusano's shoes. You go into spring training, you think you have a really good shot at making the team. Last year ended kind of on a bitter note, sent to AAA late in the year, don't get the opportunity to be on the postseason roster, and then you don't make the team in spring, and you have a pretty good spring, by the way, but it just didn't work out kind of because of the nature of the construction of the roster. So then, we're in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago. You finally get the opportunity to get back to the big leagues. If you're Luis Campusano, you are probably really, really wanting to make a good impression, really, really wanting to go out and do something to prove your value and to prove your worth. And he didn't have a hit. But you know what he did do? He walked a bunch in all 3 games that he appeared in earlier this year in Pittsburgh and New York. And then yesterday gets back in, pinch hits in the 9th inning of a blowout. What does he do? Draws another walk. So he's 0 for 6. But he's walked 5 times already this year. And I think that shows a tremendous amount of maturity for the guy. Because, again, it would be so easy to be jumping into the box, trying to hit the ball 1,000 feet, show what you can do. But maybe the most impressive thing he can do is show what kind of hitter he is turning into. And not chasing, not making it easier on the pitcher than it might be, I think is a really, really good thing for him to be doing right now.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Jesse, that Luis doesn't have to try to do too much. He's just got to be himself and find ways to produce and find ways to contribute offensively. We'll see if he can do that today out of the DH spot. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres here today. And Jesse, even though it's been a rough week or so for this team collectively, one of the good things continues to be Dylan Cease. See, if you even zoom out here, his last 6-7 starts, he's been really good. There's no doubt it feels like Dylan is trending up.
Yeah, I think he kind of turned the corner in Pittsburgh on May 2nd, and then the last 3, he's been the guy that we saw last year, the one in the Bronx at home against the Angels, and even the other night in Toronto. Now, he hasn't been getting results. That's kind of the frustrating thing from a team perspective, is that they have not offensively been taking advantage of what he's been able to give him. Dylan Cease has 1 win this year, and it was all the way back on April 2nd against the Guardians. So, he was not at his best for that period of time, probably from, the game in Sacramento the next couple of times out. A lot of hits, some walks that were a little bit uncharacteristic. Most notably, the slider wasn't doing what it normally did. But really, the last 3 times out, he has looked like Dylan Cease. And hopefully, today is the day the Padre offense backs him up and gets him back in the win column.
Well, speaking of the Padres offense, they face a pretty tough customer today in right-hander Spencer Schwellenbach. Jesse, what can you tell us about Schwellenbach as you get ready for this one?
Yeah, we've seen him a couple of times. He's pitched really well against the Padres. He's got a big repertoire, does a lot of different things, very athletic on the mound. He's a strike thrower. And so, again, we'll see if the Padres are maybe aggressive early against him or not, but he's a guy that is going to throw a lot of first pitch strikes, a lot of first pitch fastballs. He's going to be in the zone. He hardly walks anybody.
Yeah.
He's only gone 3-0 to 7 hitters all season long so far. He's a guy that's going to be there for the taking. Now, look, they're good pitches that he makes. They might be strikes, but they're good strikes generally, so it's hard to square him up. But we'll see how the Padres attack it because, again, he's going to be somebody that pretty much comes right at you.
All right, good insight, Jesse, as always. Enjoy the final game of this road trip, and then hopefully get some sleep on the flight back. It's a tough turnaround with the game tomorrow back here at home at Petco Park. So have a good flight, and we'll see you tomorrow here in San Diego.
Thank you to the Braves for the late afternoon start. We appreciate it.
That's Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. It is a really tough turnaround when you think about it, because this game's starting at 4:10 p.m. Eastern time in Atlanta. So they won't get out of there until probably, I would imagine, 8-9 p.m. and then have to fly across the country from Atlanta to San Diego and then play tomorrow here at Petco Park against the Marlins at 5:40. So it is one of the rougher turnarounds for the Padres as far as the travel. Hey, got to do it sometimes. But to Jesse's point, Braves could have made this game a 1 p.m. local start time in Atlanta, and instead it's a 4 p.m. start time on a day where the Padres got to fly cross country and play the next day. But those are the breaks, and the Padres will hopefully have a happy flight. See, a win would make the flight feel a whole lot better, I would imagine. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. A lot to do on our pregame coverage. We'll give you the full starting lineup for the Padres. Much, much more to do as we get ready for this series and road trip finale in Atlanta. You're listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game. First pitch coming up at 1:10. Series finale between the Padres and the Atlanta Braves. Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for San Diego. Right-hander Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound today for Atlanta. Military Sunday on the Padres Radio Network is presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers. Every new Toyota comes with Toyota Care, no-cost maintenance standard, so you get peace of mind standard. As we get ready for this one, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
No pregame media availability today for Mike Shildt following the night game yesterday. So we'll revisit what Mike Shildt had to say after yesterday's 7-1 loss for the Padres against the Braves in Atlanta, setting up the rubber game of this 3-game set here today. Now, you'll remember yesterday Michael King was scratched due to right shoulder stiffness, and we told you in our opening segment, the Padres, just before we came on the air today, put Michael King on the 15-day IL with right shoulder inflammation, retroactive to May 22nd. They recalled right-hander David Morgan from AAA El Paso, so he'll be available out of the bullpen here today. So I'm sure Mike Shildt will be asked about it during the post-game press conference today. So we'll revisit what Mike had to say. But again, just so you know, this is obviously after yesterday's game and now before the Padres put Michael King on the IL earlier today. Here was what Mike Shildt had to say yesterday.
Mike, can we first get an update on Michael, kind of what happened, and where do you think he's at going forward here?
Yeah, it's hard to say where he's exactly at. We want to stay ahead of it. You know, we could have pushed today for him to go out, take the ball, but that would have been a push. Woke up sometime early morning to late morning, and just felt like he slept on it wrong, and just had strength, just sore, and so he got treatment, and it did get better, and threw a little bit of the plyo balls, but still felt it, and again, we'll see as time unfolds. We've been down the road where we say, yeah, this is going to be a day-to-day, and it happens longer. But we do believe it's not anything overly serious. He played catch yesterday without any issues, recovered fine, ready to go for a start today. But, like I said, slept on it and woke up and just couldn't get the discomfort out. So, obviously we made it what I think was really a, smart decision to be certain about this, not push him. And that's what we know.
Seemed like early, other than obviously the home run there at the end, Sean was just undone by a bunch of soft hits. What did you see from Sean?
Man, listen, to start with, I got to tell you, you go in, we get a chance to win the series, and then, one of your guys, isn't able to post, and understandably. And, man, I got to tell you, I couldn't have been more pleased with the vibe and the reaction out of this clubhouse. Hitters were like, yeah, let's go. Bullpen was like, let's make this happen. Guys buckled down. Sean took the ball and was ready to get after it. And I thought he did. I threw the ball well. And the walk leading up to it, heard him a little earlier, hit by pitch, and got him in the first. And then after that, double play ball to Ozuna. And then, Olsen and Riley put a good swing on him. He's right there at his kind of limit. You're in those games where you're taking guys to their limit, your balancing act between not only their health, the next guy's health, and then the actual game itself. And but I thought Sean did a great job. Wani came in, did what he could do, and kept it there. And Alec made a pitch to a guy that's swinging the bat well in Acuna, and but again, some free pass before that for the damage. But and Yuki got through his work to get us through it.
When did Sean know he was going to get the start?
We gave him a heads up once we realized that Michael. There's a possibility, but we weren't certain about Michael yet. So that was probably, 1:30-ish, 1:45, and just put it on his radar at that point that it may happen. And then around, a little after 3 o'clock is when the decision got made.
You mentioned Wamdi already, but I think give you a good 2 innings there. Kind of save you from having to use as many arms.
Yeah, listen, we had a lot of plans coming into the game. We were going to stay away from Suarez. He was down. Morjon was in like a, triple, emergency kind of extra inning deal. Adam would have been on his third day in a row. Estrada had 1 in him. So, those guys being able to get through it with the 4 guys, and, it was a competitive game until a little bit at the end. But, it sets us up more for tomorrow with Cease going and those guys getting back available.
It's a bullpen game, especially with those restrictions that you just sort of outlined, who's available. Does it just have to fall almost perfectly?
I mean, it's different. You're not going to go into a game. If you schedule a bullpen game, you wouldn't schedule like that. You wouldn't schedule with basically 4 guys down and most of your high leverage guys. You wouldn't. You could. I don't know. Bullpen games have their place if you have a rested bullpen. But we're in the middle of 9 games in a row and extra innings 2 days ago. And so, it wasn't the most ideal time for it, but we were able to navigate it, compete. And like I said, hats off to Sean and Wandy and Alec and Yuki. They did their part. And again, outside of a couple hit by pitches or walks leading into some damage, it's a little different ball game, but they happened.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt after yesterday's 7-1 defeat in Atlanta. We'll hear from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. And again, the Padres putting right-hander Michael King on the IL within the last half hour or so officially. So I'm sure Mike will be asked about that during the post-game press conference as well. So you'll want to stay tuned after today's game to get the latest on Michael King. And fingers crossed, this is nothing too serious for Michael King. He's awfully important to that Padres rotation, as we know. First pitch coming up at 1:10, series finale in Atlanta. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. We keep Gavin Sheets in there today. Did take an over yesterday, but the 2 games prior, my goodness, what a couple of games. 4 for 9 with 3 home runs and 6 RBIs. In the not category, Luis Arraez 0 for 8 in this series so far. Fernando Tatis Jr., as we know, in the midst of a rough stretch right now. Fernando batting just 192 in the month of May with a 664 OPS. He's hitting 139 in his last 9 games with 14 strikeouts. Jake Cronenworth just 2 for 21 in his last 7 games. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for first pitch at 1:10. Let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Well, the Red Sox put Alex Bregman on the IL in between games of a doubleheader yesterday with what manager Alex Cora called a significant injury. Bregman strained his right quad on Friday. So, with an infield spot open on the Red Sox roster, the Red Sox called up 22-year-old Marcelo Meyer, one of baseball's top prospects. He went 0 for 4 in his major league debut last night. Meyer was the 4th overall pick in the 2021 draft from Eastlake High School in Chula Vista. So Meyer now in the major leagues, a very, very highly touted prospect. The Rangers took another hit yesterday when Jock Peterson broke his right hand. He was hit by a pitch on Saturday in the Rangers game against the White Sox. Rangers also without Corey Seager and Evan Carter right now, so they're missing some key offensive players. Cubs will be without one of their catchers, Miguel Amaya, for a little while. He was placed on the IL with a left oblique strain during yesterday's game against the Reds. And that's a quick look at some of the headlines from around the major leagues, some of the injury news involving some various teams around the major leagues. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up a little bit later on, including a game that already went final today. That was the Tigers beating the Guardians earlier today, and Tarek Skubal putting together an unbelievable outing. We'll tell you about that in our next segment. Padres lineup today looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arraez at first base batting second. Manny Machado at third base base batting third. Jackson Merrill in center batting cleanup. Gavin Sheets, the DH, batting fifth. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting sixth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting seventh. Luis Campusano, the DH today, batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado doing the catching and batting ninth. Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. Right-hander Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound for Atlanta. When we come back, we give you our keys to today's game. We'll continue to get ready for this one in Atlanta. Series finale between the Padres and the Braves. Padres have an opportunity to win this 3-game set. More after this on the Padres Radio Network.
Hello, my friends. It's Woodsy.
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should it be perfect. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios as we get ready for today's game in Atlanta. First pitch coming up at 1:10. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little bit over 20 minutes as the Padres go for a series win. Padres enter this game a record of 28-22. The Braves at 25-26. And remember, the Padres do return home tomorrow evening for a game against the Marlins on Memorial Day. So hopefully everybody's having a nice Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you're enjoying some time with family and friends, or however you decide to enjoy this Memorial Day weekend. Maybe it's on the barbecue, maybe it's at the beach, at the pool, something like that. Very nice day in San Diego today. But again, remember, Padres are actually back home tomorrow on Memorial Day to begin a 3-game series against the Marlins. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see that I'm wearing the Padres military hoodie giveaway. The Padres are giving these away to the first 40,000 fans in attendance on Tuesday against the Marlins. Very, very cool hoodie presented by Soapy Joe. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you can see me in it. I'll stand up for a second, give you a little spin. give you an idea what it looks like. And for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube, I know many of you listening on the radio right now, you can go to Padres.com. You go over to tickets, giveaways, and promotions, and then you'll see what the military hoodie looks like. Again, first 40,000 fans in attendance on Tuesday getting this military hoodie giveaway. So very, very cool giveaway. And again, that's being given away on Tuesday against the Marlins. And if you want to see it, well, you can go to YouTube, the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel right now, and you can see me in it. You can also go to my Instagram at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. On my story for the next few hours, you'll see a nice photo of me in the military hoodie. So check it out, and I'll see you at Petco Park tomorrow and on Tuesday for the military hoodie giveaway presented by Soapy Joe's. Let's give you the latest on both Michael King and Yu Darvish.
Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
Well, as we've said a couple of times already, the news of the day before today's game in Atlanta, Michael King getting put on the 15-day IL with right shoulder inflammation. Padres recalling right-hander David Morgan from AAA El Paso. And Morgan has been in the big leagues before earlier this year, did not make an appearance though, so he's not made his major league debut, but Morgan will be available out of the Padres bullpen today, presumably. So Michael King scratched from yesterday's start after he apparently just slept awkwardly on that shoulder, but today being put on the IL. So fingers crossed, it's hopefully nothing too serious for Michael King. So important to this Padres rotation, but that is the latest on Michael King. As far as Yu Darvish, we went over this yesterday. Kevin Acee in the San Diego Union Tribune writing yesterday morning about Yu Darvish that Yu was continuing to play catch in San Diego, and there may be some clarity this week regarding his next step. Kevin writing that multiple sources have insisted over the past week that Darvish is not feeling pain in his right elbow, but they say there's not been a setback, but that the team cannot move forward with a plan until Darvish is comfortable. Kevin writing that Darvish felt quote-unquote tight in his elbow after his rehab outing on May 14th with AAA El Paso, and he does not feel ready to pitch in a major league game. Kevin writing mostly he's not confident he would recover well enough to make repeated starts, and he does not want to compromise the Padres rotation. Kevin writing Darvish is expected to be examined in the coming days to affirm his elbow structurally sounds. That was Kevin Acee yesterday morning in the San Diego Union Tribune. So I would assume at some point this week we'll have an update on Yu Darvish and what the next steps are going to be for you. So you pair that with the Michael King news today. Not great news, certainly on the Padres rotation front as far as the injuries, and hopefully Yu Darvish is back sooner rather than later. We'll see what the update is in the coming few days on Yu Darvish. First pitch coming up at 1:10 in Atlanta. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Key number one, wake up the bats. Despite winning Friday, Padres have only scored 12 runs combined in their last 8 games. And after going 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position yesterday, in those last 8 games now, they are 3 for 53 with runners in scoring position in the last 8 games. That's a near 0.57 batting average with runners in scoring position. Bottom line, Padres got to find ways to score runs. It's really hard to win games when you're scoring 1 run a game. They scored 2 on Friday. They ended up winning it. But, I mean, let's just be honest. It's very hard to win games when you're not scoring to this degree. Can the Padres get the bats going? And one guy that could play a big role in that brings us to key number 2, Manny Machado. He is 7 for 19 with 4 extra base hits, 4 RBIs in 6 games against the Braves this year. They need Manny to produce and to be a run producer. That's key number 2. Key number 3, limiting the Braves' hot hitters. That includes Ronald Acuna Jr. He's homered in back-to-back games since returning from a year-long layoff due to a torn ACL, his second torn ACL, this time in his left knee. The first one a few years ago in his right knee. Gary Sheffield and Mark Teixeira are the only Braves since 1900 to hit a home run in each of their first 3 games of a season, and that's what Acuna will try to do today. And while there are a lot of eyes on Ronald Acuna Jr., you got to watch out for Matt Olson. He's homered in 5 of his last 7 games, including a home run yesterday. Olson is hitting .400 with 8 of his 12 hits going for extra bases in those 7 games. Having a really nice year once again, Matt Olson. Drake Baldwin, the rookie catcher, back in the lineup today for Atlanta. He's hitting .488 in 14 games in May. It's the highest average of any player across the majors this month, with a minimum of 40 plate appearances. Ozzie Albies, during a 10-game hitting streak, is batting .333, 2 doubles, and 5 runs scored. So I bring up all those names: Acuna, Olson, Baldwin, Albies, to say the Braves have a lot of guys swinging the bat well right now. Dylan Cease and the Padres got to find a way to limit this offense enough to keep the Padres in this game and with an opportunity to win it. We'll see if they can do that here today, and that's a look at our keys to today's game, this series finale and road trip finale at Truist Park in Atlanta. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We do have one final in the major leagues today. What an outing for Tarek Skubal in Detroit today. The Tigers beat the Guardians 5-0. Tarek Skubal, a complete game shutout, a Maddox, 13 strikeouts, 2 hits given up, so a complete game 2-hitter, and Skubal threw a grand total of 94 pitches. Do you know how hard that is to do, to strike out 13 and only throw 94 pitches? 72 strikes for Tarek Skubal in that game. 72 strikes, 94 pitches. Unbelievable. What an arm Tarek Skubal is. Complete game 2-hitter as the Tigers win it 5-0. A Maddox for Tarek Skubal. Wow. Games going on right now. A lot of them. Orioles lead the Red Sox 3-0 at Fenway Park in the 8th inning. Brewers and the Pirates tied at 3 in Pittsburgh in the 7th inning. Giants 3, Nationals 2 in the 9th inning in D.C. Reds ahead of the Cubs 8-4 in Cincinnati in the 7th inning. Rays ahead of the Blue Jays 9-0 in Tampa Bay in the 7th. Royals and the Twins tied at 1 in Minnesota in the 7th inning. Mariners 3, Astros 2 in Houston in the 6th. Rangers and the White Sox tied at 2 in Chicago in the 6th inning. D-backs lead the Cardinals 3-2 in St. Louis in the 6th inning. Yankees and Rockies tied at 2 in Colorado in the 2nd. Few other games yet to begin. Phillies and the A's in Sacramento at 1:05. Marlins and the Angels at 1:07 in Anaheim. And finally, Dodgers and the Mets at 4 p.m. Sunday Night Baseball in New York. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Sunday. You know, it is interesting, and I don't know what the reasoning is, and this is not me criticizing the Braves for this. It is a little interesting that the Padres got to go cross-country tonight to play here tomorrow. And as far as the Eastern time zone games, every other game started way earlier today, and this one in Atlanta starts at 4:10 p.m. local time in Atlanta. It just kind of makes you wonder. They could have started this game at 1 p.m., gave the Padres a little bit of an easier travel back. I don't know if there's a reason why the Braves started it later. There may be a good reason. I don't know. But just looking at it on the surface, it is kind of interesting, right? Kind of an unlucky break for the Padres. But hey, no excuses. Padres got to find a way to win, and you rest up, get ready for tomorrow's series opener at Petco Park as well. When we come back, we focus on one Padre in the lineup today that you'll want to keep an eye on. We also preview today's starting pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Spencer Schwellenbach. First pitch coming up at 1:10. We're back in a moment on the Padres Radio Network. game of this 3-game series between the Padres and Braves in Atlanta. We go out to Jesse and Tony at Truist Park in Atlanta. In 8 minutes, they'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play as the Padres go for a series win against the Braves. Let's tell you what to watch for in today's game.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For, presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game? Well, Luis Campusano was recalled from AAA El Paso yesterday. Jason Hayward being put on the IL with an oblique strain. And Campusano in the lineup today, DHing and batting eighth. So, what to watch for in today's game? What kind of impact will Luis Campusano have? His numbers at AAA El Paso this season have been terrific. He is really swinging the bat well at AAA, driving the ball, ton of home runs, ton of extra base hits. So far, in his brief time in the majors this season, doesn't have a hit in 11 plate appearances, but he has walked 5 times. And I thought Jesse made a good point earlier that hasn't tried to do too much, putting together good plate appearances, and does now with this opportunity. There is opportunity here for somebody like Luis to step up, hit, and stay here and play a lot. I think we all understand that. Luis has had an up-and-down experience offensively in the major leagues. He showed promise. There's been struggles as well. What does Luis Campusano do today and with this new opportunity back in the major leagues? That's what to watch for in today's game. Padres president of baseball operations and general manager AJ Preller spoke on the Ben and Woods program yesterday. This was actually before Luis Campusano was called up. AJ spoke on Friday on Ben and Woods, and then Campusano was called up yesterday. So this was AJ Preller speaking on Friday before Campusano was called up. But Ben and Woods, they asked AJ Preller about Luis Campusano. Here's what AJ had to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think from Campy's standpoint, it's obviously he's been up in the big leagues and at different points over the last few years. And I think that first year hit 280, 290 or so in the big leagues, catching. I think the good part is that, we challenged him and not making the team out of spring training. There's 2 things you can do. Some guys go down to AAA and, it's kind of woe is me and, I deserve to be in the big leagues. And he's gone down to AAA and done the opposite by all accounts. He's been a great teammate. Pete Zamora, the manager down there, talks about him all the time, about some of the things that he's done. And then offensively he's produced, which is a huge part of it. And, he's not chasing, it seems like he's kind of locked into getting his pitch, and he's always been a talented hitter. And we've, again, like you mentioned, so, guys breaking into the big leagues, it's all kind of different time periods about how they, how and when they get going. I think with Campy, he's hit the ball hard. He's hit the ball very hard. He's been productive. He's not chasing. Even in the little bit we saw him in the big leagues, I think it was 4 walks and 1 punch out. And, I think the 1 punch was one of those balls that was probably out of the zone. So, that's productive, and we're going to constantly be looking at that AAA group to see if guys can come in and, and give us some. We've done it so far this year. We've tapped into some guys down there, and my guess is Campy will get more opportunity, and you force your own opportunity. And the way he's playing, he's considered. He's definitely in our minds, and he's going to force his way back to the big leagues if he keeps doing what he's doing.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres, 29 years old. He grew up just north of Atlanta in Milton, Georgia. So far this season, 1-3, a 4.50 ERA in 10 starts. Last start in Toronto, 7 innings, 3 earned runs given up. His last 3 starts have been really good, a 2.66 ERA in 20-plus innings. If you go back a little bit farther, 7 starts, 3.20 ERA, so no doubt Dylan is trending up. He faced the Braves in his first start of the season back in March. 4 innings and a third, 3 earned runs given up, 4 hits. He struck out 7 and walked 2. 2 starts against the Braves last year. 1 in San Diego was great. The other in Atlanta was rough. 4 innings, 5 earned runs given up on 9 hits. Right-hander Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound for Atlanta today. 24 years old. He's 3-3 with a 3.52 ERA in 10 starts so far this this season. Last start at Fenway Park against the Red Sox, went 7 innings, 4 earned runs allowed. That followed 2 quality outings. In fact, 8 of his 10 starts this season have been quality starts, so he's provided length and been effective. Faced the Padres in his first start of the season this year, 6 scoreless innings, 1 hit given up. Also faced the Padres last July and went 7 strong innings. So Schwellenbach has been good against the Padres. We'll see if they can figure him out here today. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup. Cease for the Pods and Schwellenbach for Atlanta. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. When we come back, we go out to Atlanta. It's Jesse, it's Tony. They have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, Padres fans.